Well, hello, friends, neighbors. John, your wishing neighbor here. Welcome out to the deck. Beautiful spring day. It's so warm, it almost feels like an early summer day. Just gorgeous. Got a couple of samples here. One from Ray, one from Dark Cloud Whiskey. Both significantly sherry influenced, but from pretty far apart regions. So the first sample I'd like to talk to you today about is Aberfeldy 18 Exceptional Cask. This is from Ray, and it's released at 53.8. I'll talk a bit about more of its history, but you can see this gorgeous dark looking dram here. That's that Aberfeldy 18 Exceptional Cask. Second one from Dark Cloud is from Two Brewers. That's up in the Yukon. It's Canadian single malt. It's 11-year-old, but it's released 24. They say it's a single cask, but when I look at its history, there's a lot of casks in the background of this one. So it's interesting that it's still considered a single cask or casks release. So if you have anything, and they're both 53.8 and 58, I think, percent. These are bigger, bolder whiskeys. Both of them heavily sherried influence for sure. So if you've got anything along that style, or either one of these, the Aberfeldy 18 Exceptional or the Two Brewers Release 24, why don't you pour a dram? When you come back, we'll sip together. We'll enjoy this afternoon. 3, 4. Thanks for staying with me. Certainly been an interesting Sunday. Been a bit of family time, and then there was a few kind of chores, and I knew with this beautiful weather I need to get out in the backyard and finish up some raking and do all those good things. But instead I'm going to sit on the deck and talk whiskey with you guys. So this first one, Aberfeldy 18 Exceptional Cask. I did some research online, and then I reached out to Ray, who sent it to me, and this one here, it does say Cask 17, released at 53.8%, but it's part of the Double Cask Exceptional Cask series. So even though it's considered a finish, I believe it spent 9 years in a first fill ex-sherry cask of those 18 years. So that's probably why I don't think there's a good angle out here to get color, but this is about as dark a whiskey as I think I've ever had. It's gorgeous, dark amber. Like, it's just this beautiful dark color. Let's see what we got on the whiskey when we nose it and taste it. Nice and thick leathered figs, a little nutty. Actually, there's some sweet honey in there now that I'm going. Yeah, there's a little bit of Christmas spices, but there is something nutty in there, like a crushed walnut. It's pretty bold, actually. I went in a little deep there and got a little singed, but so it's definitely strong, but thick, rich. Fruiting for me right now on the nose is darker and thicker and leathered and older, as opposed to bright fruits. Like, not a lot of berries right now, but more seasoned or stewed or cooked, those kinds of fruits. Very rich. Better take a first sip. Sláinte. Palate for me is far more in that savory place. The fruits are not bitter, but they're cooked, leathered or dried, older. There is somewhat of a juiciness, but it dries up pretty quick. It's almost drying. Playing in the early finish, more spicing, more oak, a little bit of that thick musty sherry. This is very heavily sherry influenced for me. This is a sherry bomb, but dark chocolate's not milk, roast espresso, still getting some of those baking spices and crushed walnuts. Better try another little sip. I was wondering if I was going to get a little more malt character. Summer playing around, but this is very sherry forward. Quite nice, but quite dark, and almost on that, unsugared coffee bitterness edge, a little bit going on. Ray gave me a tip. He said, make sure to have it with some water. So I'm going to stop the raw sips there and come back to it with a bit of water. So changing to Two Brewers, Canadian single malt, as opposed to, an 18-year-old Scotch. It is younger at 11 years, released a little bit stronger at 58%. And I know, even though it's released as a single cask, I hear, but it has ex-bourbon. I know it has spent time in XPX. And then I also believe it has spent years in 2 other casks. Look like they're from an independent restaff company. One was at Char 2, I think, and then 3 years at a Char 1. But I'll try to do a bit more research. I just kind of read that description. I thought, oh, that's a lot of casking. But certainly, and as all Two Brewers, non-chill filtered natural color. And it is actually, I would comment on how dark and deep it is. It's very nice, I don't know what to say, but beautiful color. Just in comparison to Aberfeldy, it's a little lighter, but very dark and rich color. Definitely more, like there's fruiting in there right away, but it's almost like some stone fruiting, some lighter fruits. But where I was going to say definitely is I'm getting more caramel and honey and light toffee. Yeah, strong on the nose too. Certainly a lot of alcohol. Almost got a marmalade there, like a nice orange but sweet with a little ginger. Yeah, kind of like a marmalade. Yeah, now that I've said it out loud, really quite a bit coming on that. In contrast, this Aberfeldy is just dark, rich, beautifully pressed espresso. But an interesting nose and much fruitier, and it's got a nice kind of orange sweet ginger flavor. All right, let's try it on the palate. Cheers. Definitely a juicier release and a spicier release. Like there's more, some cinnamons, some a little bit of pepper. Not as much kind of cooked baking spices as the other one, but quite a few, and actually a lot of flavor. Some honey roasted nuts almost in there. Still getting a bit of that. Now it's candied orange peel. Oh, it's a flavor ride. There's a lot of different flavors. I gotta try another sip. A little more in that one, a little more traditional caramels in that one, a little toffees, some candies. Candies, that sounds like rock sugar. That's not what I meant. I meant the candied orange peel, the candied nuts. So there's a sweetness, but definitely cooked as part of something. In direct comparison, both of these samples are fantastic. I just love that people have reached out and shared some of their whiskey collection with me. So I'm probably predisposed to like these, but these are good releases. There's definitely more alcohol in the younger 11, stronger 58% Two Brewers, but there is a greater variety of flavor. Whereas the Aberfeldy Exceptional Cask, without water, both of them is playing very much into a heavy, thick, darker sherried Scotch. Very cool. Gonna try them both with water. Put a good splash of water. I'm gonna try. I'll just go in reverse order. So back the Two Brewers. Release 24, but with a splash of water. It's a more approachable nose. Getting a little more of that kind of apricot. Maybe that's more pear, some cut apple. So the fruits have mellowed and more into more traditional notes. Sweetness is backed off. There's still a whiff of orange in there on the palate. Great flavors on the palate, and water just lengthened it. Didn't take away the nice coating mouthfeel. Some of the edges might be gone, but actually it's a pretty enjoyable with water. I think I definitely would have a splash of water on this. I won't switch them back up in order, but coming back to the Aberfeldy Exceptional Cask, number 17. This is the one that's finished for 9 years in first fill sherry. It's a nicer nose. That sprightly alcohol that kind of singed a bit, gone entirely. This is now more welcoming, more robust. Still full sherry influence, still darker cherry or darker fruits, little frig, not bright berry, definitely darker on the palate. You know, the palate in some ways is, more enjoyable. Some of the punchy edges are gone, but I've lost some of the character. Like, what was that? Crushed walnuts or something I was going for. Some of that nuttiness is gone, and I'm left with a nice, some nicer chocolates, some nice heavily sherried influenced, good Scotch, good malt. But some of those other kind of side of edges flavors have actually disappeared. Nose is much better with water. Palate, I think I'm going to leave it for a little bit and then come back to it in another 10 minutes or so. I don't know if I let it rest long enough. And then maybe some of those other flavors are going to come back, but in a better integrated fashion. Thank you for joining me out here. Definitely a great way to just sort of and unwind before what comes next today. And if you have a chance to consider the Aberfeldy 18-year exceptional cask, this is great if you really enjoy dark chocolate, thick sherry expressions. I think you would really appreciate this. It's very well done. It's obviously an exceptional Scotch. This Two Brewers is a little punchy, and it's got some wild orange there for me. It's still coming back now, and really a ride of flavors, and I like it. And I think it's probably about half the cost of this. It's only 11 years. It is a little bit more youthful, but it's a great release, and I really like the flavor ride. So if I'm going to put coin down, this is a great treat, but I'm probably going to buy the Two Brewers because it's really good. Thanks for joining me. You guys have just a fantastic work week ahead of you. Take care.